If you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to shoot me a DM over Instagram or ask down below. You guys see me ask that all the time, and you guys actually do. You guys DM me all the time. I actually got 3 DMs on the way out here to make this video. And one question I tend to get a lot is, hey man, I'm in the market for a second gen, what should I look for? And it's kind of a hard question to answer, only because with these type of trucks, there's so much that changes in between a year of these things. It honestly is hard to answer. You can either get a 12 valve, 24 valve, P pump, VP, NV 4500, 47 RE. There's so many different things that change in a couple years of these trucks. It's unbelievable. And I mean, one main thing is the 53 block. And unfortunately, I got a 53 block, which I'll get into. But what I mean by that is, in this video, I'm probably gonna get a little bit of hate on this video, but that's all right. I want this video mainly to be for the people that are in the market for a second gen. And I'm not a mechanic by any means, so I'm pretty much going to go over the problems I've had with my truck in the 2 years of ownership of this truck, and hopefully that'll help you in purchasing your second gen. Easily, the worst thing on these trucks are the VP44. They're the cancer of these trucks, and unfortunately, I've had to go through 2 of them, even with an AirDog 150 and a Beans diesel sump. Another thing to check on these trucks is look for the casting number on the side of the block. Mine is actually a 53 block, and a lot of people will say avoid those at all costs. If you guys look and it says 53 block, run away, don't ever go look at it. I went completely against that method. I bought a 53 block. I've not had any issues with the truck, and the truck almost has 300,000 miles. Another common flaw with these trucks are the steering. Luckily, I've never had death wobble in this truck, believe it or not. I do run an aftermarket steering stabilizer from Rough Country. I run a Spoon adjustable track bar, and I just put on a Borgeson steering shaft this past week, and so far so good. It doesn't wobble. But even if you do happen to buy one of these trucks, or say if you happen to test drive one of these trucks, if you do see a little bit of slop in the steering wheel, once again, nothing crazy. Of course, excessive slop, if you're turning the wheel all the way like 75, 80% left and it's just starting to turn left, not a good thing. But a little bit of play in the steering wheel is not too bad. And I know a lot of people will disagree, but if you own a second gen, you'll know where I'm coming from. It's not excessive, it's not too crazy. Second gens are just known for having bad steering. And this is by far my favorite argument on these trucks. Every Power Stroke and Duramax fanboy, the only argument they ever have is, oh, you have a Cummins, you guys blow through transmissions. You guys have to realize, Cummins is its own separate entity. Like whenever people say, oh, why'd you buy a Dodge Ram? I say I didn't buy a Dodge Ram. I bought a Cummins. I bought a 24 valve. That's why I bought this truck. For example, if my 24 valve Cummins was in an F-150, I would have went and bought an F-150. The only reason I bought this truck was for the motor. The Cummins 24 valve. So when you guys use your argument, oh, your transmission is horrible, blah, 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 that's not the Cummins' fault. Yes, it's putting out more power and torque than the transmission can handle, but at the end of the day, that's Dodge's transmission. The transmission is not Cummins. So whenever people, that really grinds my gears, and I hate to say that because I'm gonna get a lot of hate on this comment, but I just hate that argument. Oh, you have a Cummins, you guys blow through transmissions. That Cummins suck. Don't ever buy a Cummins. Blah blah blah. You're talking about Dodge. You're not talking about the Cummins itself. The diesel motor itself is great. That's why you see people doing Cummins swaps all the time. You'll see them in boats. You'll see them in Jeeps. You'll see them in Fords. You'll even see them in Chevys. And now you're seeing them in Nissan Titans. And even another funny argument that I have, that I think is funny at least, is people love to dog the 47 RE transmission. In my opinion, it is the worst and the best transmission you can have. And what I mean by that is it has 3 gears. So if you love racing, 47 RE is, in my opinion, the best over anything. And then you have overdrive, of course. But what I mean by the best and the worst is you at least have a good transmission to start off with. So if you want to buy a second gen, say you want to race, 47 REs already in place. That's why you'll see 4th gen Cummins with 47 RE swaps, because they come with a 68, which has 6 gears, I believe. I could be wrong on that. You'll see them all the time saying, oh, I have a 47 RE swap. So when people say, oh, your transmission's bad, yeah, they're kind of right in a sense, but at the end of the day, a 47 RE is a great transmission. It's a great platform to start on. Another common issue about these trucks is the dash on the inside. Sometimes they'll be cracked. It's just a common issue with these trucks. Heat gets to them and they just crack. So if you do happen to see one with a cracked dash, it's not like it's crazy or out of the ordinary. I would say 6 times out of 10, if you find a second gen on Craigslist, it's more than likely going to have a cracked dash. So don't freak out about it. It's a common issue with these trucks, and they're pretty simple to replace. So another question I get is, if I'm looking at a second gen, what should I avoid? And I would say the teenager second gens. And what I mean by that is if you see a second gen and you see the Craigslist ad and it says 250 horse injector, stock turbo, and you see 12-inch exhaust tip out the back, huge Cummins decal on it, no gauges, nothing like that, you'll pretty much know that all they want to do is just blow smoke at the local high school. Just being honest, that's just how it is. I would recommend staying away from those trucks. I hate to say it, but I'm sure there's something melted or something's messed up with that truck. Once again, my opinion, I'm just saying I would not recommend buying these type trucks from teenagers. So what aftermarket upgrades would be good to have on a truck if you were gonna go buy one? I would say gauges, especially a fuel pressure gauge, is always should be your first mod. If you do happen to buy a second gen and there's no gauges on it, always put a fuel pressure gauge on there. That'll be something good to look for. I would say aftermarket lift pump, air dog or fast, and transmission work. See if they've put either aftermarket valve body in it or torque converter, and especially always ask for paperwork. Another good thing to ask about is if they have any paperwork for oil changes. I know it's one of those simple, like, why would I ask for paperwork on oil changes? You have to think about it. Whenever you get an oil change, you more than likely fold up the paper and you put it in your glove department. You don't just go throw it in the trash. So if they have a thick stack of just oil changes, you know the truck's more than likely been taken care of, especially if they've changed trans fluid, diff fluid, stuff like that. So always ask for paperwork. Most of the time people keep their paperwork, so when they do happen to go sell the truck, it just looks better on the seller that he has everything maintenance wise on the truck. And you can always look for the normal type stuff, like obviously if you start driving it and the transmission is slipping, you want to ask about that. If the guy says it's been rebuilt, always ask for paperwork. If he doesn't have any paperwork, a little bit sketchy. Another thing, if it does leak a little bit of oil, it's not that big of a deal. A lot of people will say it is. It's a second gen Cummins. At the end of the day, it's going to leak a little bit of oil. Obviously, if there's a pool of oil, if you drive the truck and you park it and 5 minutes later you go outside and there's a pool of oil underneath it, obviously that's a bad thing. But these trucks do have a little bit of blow by, so it's nothing too major to worry about. Just make sure it's not excessive. There's so much research you guys can do on these trucks before buying ahead of time. I know a lot of the Cummins forums are kind of sketchy nowadays, because if you look at a Cummins forum, say you just Google, hey, what should I look for when I'm buying a second gen Cummins? You may find a forum from like 1999 or 2001. The forums on these trucks are horrible, and you never know who you're talking to. You can either be talking to a 12-year-old kid, or you're going to be talking to a 130-year-old man. You just never know who you're talking to. So forums, I would recommend, just not take it with a grain of salt. Just be careful what you're listening to and what you're believing, I guess you could say. Just do as much research as you can on these trucks, of course. So like I said at the beginning of this video, there's so many variables that go into this truck. I know I did not mention half of it. There's so many different things about this truck I can run over. I can definitely go into more detail about this truck. If you guys have any questions, like I said, you're more than welcome to DM me over Instagram, or you can ask down below. I'm sure either myself or anybody else can help you guys out. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.